I thought I would stay home and write, but after taking Natasha to kindergarten and seeing this blue skies, which is not common here, I thought let's go out and test this bad boy. Tamron 72-180. Let's get packed. So my first impression of this Tamron lens is I love it. Today we are doing a review or real world test of this bad boy, which is Tamron 70-180 for Sony E-mount. First of all, I got this lens only a week ago, and today I had a chance to really try it, and we tested this lens in a real world situation. We went to a nearby park with a canal, so there was a lot of portraits, a lot of street photography, nature. I've got one shot of a bird, and overall I'm very happy with this lens. I won't focus much on the build quality of this lens and in-depth review. Yes, it's plastic, but that means it's light. And if you drop it, you're probably going to break it. But if you drop any lens, you're probably going to break it, depending on which side does it fall down. If it falls directly on the glass, I think more or less any lens is done. I think it's an amazing lens, especially for this price. I didn't miss stabilization. How do you say this? Stabilization? That's a long word. Stabilization. Should be like that. I didn't miss stabilization at all. When you shoot photos, yes, you can see a little bit jitters, but if you put your shutter speed up, photos are in focus, clear. Autofocus works great. If you set it on human, it finds human. If you set it on animal, it can find animal. So no problem at all, especially on my Sony A7C. So if you've got these Sony cameras that can autofocus on human or on animal, you're good to go. You don't have to worry. It was somewhere around 8:30 when we arrived at the park. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't the peak gold hour, but the sun was still quite low on the horizon, and we had about an hour or two of very nice sun to take photos. And I especially wanted to try this on birds, but I wasn't successful as much as I wanted, not because of the lens, but because of my skills of tracking birds. And there weren't many birds at all today. I've only spotted like 3 or 4 of them. Seagulls and these, I don't know how to say them, chapля. I think this was in aps-c mode, where I cropped even further. So 180 for bird photography is perhaps not enough, but I don't think 200 is also enough. So if you miss these 20 centimeters of the lens, which Sony goes to 200, and if you think you're gonna miss these 20 for birds, you need more than these 20. You need at least 400 for birds. So don't worry about it. 180 is just perfect. But if you have these Sony cameras where you can crop in to turn your sensor into a crop sensor and you lose certain amount of megapixels, then you can turn this 180 into something more like 270, 200. Yes. So let's take a look at the next shot. This is shot of Sanya. I think this is a beautiful photo. especially with this green yellowish blurry background. And I should note that all photos you see are not edited. This is straight from the camera. This one is shot on 180 millimeters f2.8, 1/4000 of a second, which is the fastest that my Sony A7C can go, and ISO 1600. So that tells me that I could go even lower, but I was quite confused because I knocked the brightness on the screen on the Sony and I couldn't really see what's going on, because when you knock it up on +2, your highlights look terrible on Sony A7C screen. And I didn't realize that I could go slower shutter speed and get lower ISO. But even with that, I think this photo looks great. When you zoom in, her face is in focus. And look at this, you can see this one string of hair. I think it's very sharp, very beautiful. And the bokeh is just great. This is the willow in the background on 2.8. Looks like a poster. You can make a poster from this photo. It's just amazing. This is another shot of Sanya. She's taking photos of me, I'm taking photos of her. Again, super sharp, good focus. This blur you see is because of my Lightroom preview. So don't worry about that. It's super sharp. I think the camera focused on her hands this time. So it's great for birds, for animals, if you can get closer and crop in. And it's great for portraits. So let's take a look at the nature, more macro photography. I think this is also great. ISO 125. I think here I went to manual because I was shooting in auto ISO. I was controlling the shutter speed and the f-stop. And here I shot at f3.5. Let's take a look at the sharpness. Look at these edges. They're so sharp. So many details. If I brighten this image up, put the exposure up, I think I should get with more details. But even like this, it's moody, dark, and I love how it looks. This is a shot of the lamppost. I think shot at ISO 1000. It should maybe be lower one stop, but again, this is not the lens's fault, it's my fault. f3.5, 1/4000 of a second. Again, very sharp. Bokeh is just great, separates the subject from the background, and you're good to go when you straighten it up. This was again shot with the crop, so this 180 should be something 270, and f3.5, 1/4000 of a second, ISO 320, and this guy is on the other side of the bank, and look at that, it's so sharp on him. He's taking water from the canal, watering his little garden here in behind. I think this is amazing that you can, with this lens, shoot in this many details on the other side of the river or canal, which is like 10-15 meters wide. It just feels great to have this lens. That I really love it. And need to add that I'm not paid to do this review. I'm just genuinely surprised how good this lens is. I knew that 2.8 lens is great and sharp, but this is just amazing. So again, this is something you can't get from an iPhone, because when you try to take this photo, I wish I had taken the photo with iPhone just to compare with that. This mountain is nowhere when you try to take a photo with iPhone or any other wide lens. This was shot with 180, 2.8, ISO 125, 1/4000 of a second. And look how close this mountain looks to this building. And if you try with different width, it just goes in the background and disappears. But here it kind of, this focal length kind of brings it together, and I think it's perfect how much details you can get from the background if you have mountains in the background, and it just looks great. One more example, this is on the other side of the river or canal, whatever that is, and look how close can you get into these machines and construction site, and look, so many details, and the sky looks great. You have vignetting, but let's try and fix that very quickly. Lens correction, and here we go. Vignetting is completely gone, and you have perfectly lit sky and perfectly lit buildings and a little bit of hill, mountain, trees in the background. Beautiful shot. And this is probably the shot of the day. I'm so proud of this. And when I came home, I didn't even remember shooting it because I shot so many birds and didn't quite get them. Again, I don't blame it on the lens. I think I still need to learn how to shoot birds, especially when they're flying, but this shot is great. Again, it was crop, but look at these details. Look how separated the wings are from this dirty, muddy water. And we have a reflection here and 3 layers of colors, like deep shadows, then lights. And here we have some light highlights and midtones, reflection from the other side of the canal. And I think this shot is just great. I'm so proud of this one. And again, this lens performs great in many situations. And another great shot, because it has depth. Look at this tree. It's one level. The saxophone player is on another level, and his background is on a third level or layer. Call it however you want. But yes, I think this shot looks beautiful. I don't remember if it was a crop or not. Seems to me that it is. But look at his face. You can see so many details. And although I'm standing so far away, I didn't want to disturb them much. I was more like paparazzi trying to sneak in. And this is a shot of a city. I kind of want to remove this willow falling. It could be easily done in Photoshop. That's what I'm going to do. But it's shot on 70 millimeters, so you can even shoot some cityscape photography, although it's a very cropped, zoomed lens. So performs great. And again, one very good shot, maybe like ideal for your banner for the website if you want to show yourself as a photographer or someone traveling. And look at the colors and separation here, and the details on the hair and the glasses and this fur. And the highlights here. I think I'm very happy with the lens. One more cityscape shot from the other side of the bank. This shot was amazing. I was on the street and the guy was on his bike. He's doing deliveries, groceries, and from the restaurants. And look at his mask and details on his face and helmet. And he was riding a bike at this point. It wasn't he wasn't waiting for the red light or something. I think it looks great. Look at the details. Another attempt of street photography. I just wanted to bring these mountains closer, and I think I managed that. And this is our boy who was so happy that I was taking photos of him. He was running towards me, and this is what I caught. Very sharp, lots of details in the face, smooth background, overall great lens. And before I finish this long ass video, I want to show you a couple of videos that I took. Although I brought my monopod, I didn't actually use it. I was shooting everything handheld. Here, look how smooth it is. I didn't have my ND filter on when I was shooting this video, so I had to crank up the shutter speed, but it still looks perfectly fine, probably because of his slow movement. You don't, even if I had the shutter speed properly at 1/50th of a second, you wouldn't see the motion blur, simply because he was moving slowly. That's Tai Chi. This man is at least 70 years old. Look what he can do. And not to mention that this was also a crop. I think this is great. So if you try to move, it's very difficult to get your composition, but I think it would be difficult with any lens. If you try to track the subject at this length, I don't think that's particularly easy without a monopod. Again, shot of a grandma warming up for her Tai Chi. And one shot of the birds. I couldn't get them in focus. Again, if I used my monopod, which I brought but didn't want to use, it would be a better shot. But even with any other lens, I don't think you would get a more stable shot than this. If you stand still and lock yourself, it's smooth. Again, no stabilization here, nothing. What's this? There's a girl playing with her grandma, and I lost the focus. And this is the vlog. So overall, I think this is a long video, but if you had that dilemma which I had, should I save up more money for Sony or should I buy a Tamron? If you have that dilemma, I think you should buy Tamron. And if you don't have that dilemma, if you already decided I want Sony, then you buy Sony by all means. Sony can give that image stabilization. But if you think that you're losing something if you buy this, I think you won't lose anything. You won't miss anything, especially if you come from a world where I come from, meaning all my videos and photos until 1 month ago, I used to shoot on my iPhone. So this is a huge upgrade for me. But if you come from a world where you already have some zoom lenses or prime lenses, this focal length, and they're stabilized, go ahead and keep them. But if you're new in the game and you just need to cover this 70 to 200, 70 to 180, perfectly fine. You won't regret if you buy this thing. Again, this is not paid by Tamron. They don't even know that I'm doing this review. This is me just trying to help you to decide whether it would be a good buy or not. And I think it would. I'm completely happy. And if you want to support this channel, I leave the links down of all the gear I use. There you can find this lens also, and if you buy using my link, I'll get a commission from that link. Means it's affiliate link, but it won't affect your price. It will cost you as much as it would cost you if you didn't use my link, but you will help the channel. So if I helped you make a decision, please use my link. And I think that's it for this long video, 40 minutes or so. I need to cut some of these in the edit, so it should be shorter. Thank you for watching and see you next time.